Yeah. All right. So we're live.
We're here.
There's our little intro video. Woo! Welcome everyone to Holiday Squares, a festive discussion about event professionals about the upcoming holidays. We're going to kick off this discussion just by kind of going around the squares. So our little play on Hollywood squares. Since we're not in circles, we said we'd do it as a festive square. Go around and talk about what do you do, where you are located right now, and what's something that's been making you happy over the last couple weeks. Does anyone want to, Mary, you want to kick us off?
Oh, sure. Okay. So I'm Mary Davidson from EP Events with a Purpose. We do fundraising events and virtual events, and we service the South Sound. So Tacoma, Washington area is where I am. And something that's made me happy, I would say, the last few weeks. I got to stick with my 3 C's, which are my Christmas trees, which ironically are not in this video, and my cats, of course, and cookies always. So those are my 3 C's that make me happy.
Oh, that's amazing. Monica, you want to go next? Introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Monica Newby. I am the Senior Catering Sales and Marketing Manager at Ocean 5 and Table 47 in Gig Harbor, Washington. That is just about 10 minutes across the bridge from Tacoma, Washington. I recently was laid off, unfortunately, due to the mandated shutdowns in our state, but we hopefully will be back in a month or two. In the meantime, I'm also working on building an event venue here at my home, which is just about 20 minutes north of Gig Harbor in the Olalla Port Orchard area. We've got about 5 acres of pastoral land. So we're creating an outdoor space for weddings and other events, fundraisers, corporate events, retreats, all kinds of fun stuff. So we hope to be open by May. We're just putting in our permits right now.
So exciting. Can't wait to hear more about that in a little bit. Laura, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Laura Yarbo. I'm the only one that's not in the Washington area. I'm down in Arkansas. I am a professional event planner with Laura Yarbo Events, and also I have a concierge service, the Holiday Buddy. So my events are mostly international. I like to do sports and corporate meetings and conferences. And for the Holiday Buddy, I help you do everything from running errands to wrapping gifts, planning your family and company parties, and anything surrounding the holidays that will help you get organized.
Very
Well,
cool.
and you're busy because of the area you're in.
Sorry?
You must be busy because of the area you're in.
Super busy. This is the first day that I kind of had an hour or two to myself. So I've been really, really busy. And something that's made me happy recently is wrapping gifts an okay answer? Because I know I do that for other people, but I really, really like it. It's kind of a creative outlet. If you like art and stuff like I do, I like to work with my hands. So that's really fun.
If you need some like wrapping inspiration, go check out Laura's Instagram. Laura, are you under? Is it Holiday? Remind me, is it Holiday Buddy? You can plug it.
The Holiday Buddy, and I even have some.
She's got a prop. I love it.
If you like to draw, you can draw on your gifts.
Oh, that's
very pretty.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Very cool. Well, I'll wrap us up. I'm Logan Clements, freelance event producer, owner of Logan Strategy Group. Currently been working a lot in helping people produce fun and exciting virtual events. So that was kind of where the brainchild for this, holiday discussion came up, because I was fielding a couple of phone calls from friends asking for tips of how do we still make this season feel festive and fun, even though it might look a little different than we're used to from years past. And it looks different here in Washington than it does in Arkansas, so where Laura is. So it'll be fun to kind of discuss different options. But yeah, something that's been making me happy this week I will say I also have my little prop. I have hot chocolate with me, and then whipped cream. For like whatever reason, I've never been a whipped cream person, but this year it's like tickled me every time I've gotten whipped cream on like a hot chocolate or something. It just makes me super happy. So It's about the little things right now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's the little things.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
is.
I forgot to tell you what was making me happy. A hot bath, because I recently had foot surgery and I couldn't take a bath until the last few weeks. So I love that, and our goats and our kittens,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
and my husband. Let's not forget the most important part.
I was going to say, now what's the order? Is it cats, goats, husband? Husband above the cats and goats?
I would say
like I
actually it's husband, goats, cats, because the kittens are new. We
Okay.
haven't quite bonded yet.
Okay.
I
Oh,
have
that's
to
cute,
add
though.
my dog makes me happy always, but if you know me, you know that's a given. So, yeah, my dog.
Good old Sheen. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, before we jump into kind of tips for people about keeping the holidays fun, let's go around and maybe talk about what was your favorite holiday memory. I know a lot of things around the holidays are kind of wrapped in nostalgia for you. So when you think of the holidays, it can be, you go back to Thanksgiving, still counts, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's even. Does anyone feel strongly to share their favorite holiday memory?
I have a funny story. So when I was little, like, small child, like between 5 and 8 or whatever, somewhere in that range, we used to always get an orange in the toe of our Christmas stocking. And I didn't especially like citrus. So I was probably about 6 years old, and I wrote a letter to Santa Claus that instead of an orange, can I please have a cucumber? Because cucumber was like the only vegetable I liked as a kid.
Yeah.
And so I was flabbergasted that year for Christmas. Not only did I get the blue teddy bear that I asked for, but I got a cucumber, and all my sisters got oranges. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so convinced that there was a Santa because he answered my letter. And my mom went and got the cucumber, and she like wrapped it with a paper towel and she peeled it. So I just ate it like a popsicle.
And then a new tradition was born, the holiday cucumber.
Right.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Laura, Mary, do you guys have a favorite holiday memory?
Yes, I was thinking of when I was younger, my brothers and I, this is like embarrassing if they ever listen to this, which they probably will, they're going to be embarrassed. But when my brothers and I were in elementary school, or they were in middle school, they're older than I am, we would make music videos of us standing, in front of the camera, lip syncing to 90s Christmas songs. And we had, Santa hats and all. And I just think like if I saw those videos now, I haven't seen them in a while, they would totally make me cringe. But it was a really good memory because I was able to hang out with my brothers, and it's just something that I always remember. And it was kind of silly, but it was fun. So it's one of my favorites.
That's cool. Do you know where the videos are? Who has them?
Oh, I'm sure my parents have them. I don't know what they're going to do with them.
Well, I think we need a follow-up to post one of those.
I know.
Oh no! Oh, little
I see
Mary.
I see an EP events holiday post in the future. Just
there you go.
That's
a great idea. It'll go viral because it's going to be so sad.
That's cute though. I like that. Well, I'd say like my favorite holiday memory has to be just like my family has we have like a routine to our Christmas morning, which I guess I didn't realize it till I was like talking to other people of just how much like that to me is Christmas. Just the act of, we all get up, we're not allowed to go down the stairs till everyone is awake, which when you're a kid was to keep you from peeking at presents. When you're an adult, it's a little less exciting because we're all now getting up at the same time. When you're a kid, when you're up at like 5 a.m. and you're just trying to get your aunts and uncles up and moving, and you can't go anywhere until the last person's up and like ready and seated on the stairs. And then we have to sing 3 Christmas carols before we're allowed to go out to so when we were kids, our parents, I think my dad would always make us sing a really long one just to try to elongate the process versus you're like, can we just sing Dashing Through that? We could just do Dashing really quickly, or we wish you a Merry Christmas. And then we always do like stockings and then have breakfast first. So like really elongating the not seeing any form of Christmas presents until after breakfast. And then my grandma always makes oyster stew for lunch. And that's like, dinner's always a different thing. But for some reason, if there's like a flow to our day, that when I explained it to someone, I was like, oh, I guess not everyone has that. But to me, it was like that routine is just, it like warms my heart. So every year we always stick to it.
Is oyster stew a family dish for you guys? Is that an ethnic dish or?
I couldn't tell you. To me, it's like, it's our Christmas dish. We don't eat it any other time other than Christmas for lunch. And it's essentially just like, my grandma could tell me the recipe. It's just like cream, sherry, and oysters and butter. So it's delicious. And it curdles quickly. So you have to like be really, it's a careful dish that she makes. But when we were kids, we thought oysters were gross. So you had chicken noodle soup. And then as we slowly realized oysters were delicious as kids, one by one, we stopped having chicken noodle soup. And now we all are on the oyster stew.
Huh, that must be a Northwest thing then.
Yeah, it must be. I'm from family's all from like Philadelphia and Delaware. So maybe it's more for that. Like
maybe it's more Northeast.
Now you've given me a new like exercise I need to do this holidays is figure out why do we have oyster stew? I just accept it.
I've never heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Laura, do you have a favorite holiday memory?
Well, mine's actually similar to yours. It's just the very predictable day that my family does. We have always woken up. My brother's always last. Stockings and then gifts. I like to prolong the gift opening as long as possible. So you have to open your gift. Everybody talks. Ooh, you know. And then that lasts about 4 hours. But in the last hour, you know, people are like, come on, Laura, hurry up. And then we have breakfast at noon, and we always have bacon and biscuits with butter and jam. And we stay in our pajamas. I can't recall ever going anywhere on Christmas Day. So that I just love that. It's always at home. Don't really have to see anybody. Don't have to go anywhere. I love that. I'll always remember our very predictable family schedule.
Oh, gosh. Yes. But yeah, the predictability of it, I feel like that takes some of the stress out of the day. Yeah. You know what's coming. So then kind of gearing into all of our various event backgrounds, what do you think your work in events has taught you about the holidays? Whether it's made you, you know, as like a holiday participant, enjoying the holidays, planning around the holidays, helping clients navigate the holidays. Yeah. Anybody want to jump on that one?
I'll jump in. I like to go first, apparently.
You go first.
You know, being a caterer, I've been a caterer since I started a business in 1998 in Seattle catering. And we had a venue, and then we later had a venue in Tacoma. And so the first 3 weeks of December has always been my busiest time of the entire year, even busier than wedding season with corporate holiday parties, especially prior to the Great Recession. And what I learned was you have to stop for just a minute and look around and take time to really appreciate what you see going on around you because it's so busy. It's such a hustle and bustle. Yeah. And then one year, my husband talked me into putting up an artificial Christmas tree, which I had always my whole life been against. And I realized that year, I never got to see my tree because they only last like 3 or 4 weeks. And I was really busy that 3 or 4 weeks. So if I put up a fake tree, I can put it up early. I can keep it up all January and I get to enjoy it the whole time. So even though I had that first 3 weeks of December that was just crazy, I got to extend the holidays by having my Christmas decorations up for a really long time.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So when you were, again, we say this all with parentheses around non-COVID times, when would you finally take your tree down?
Well, if it was a real tree, we would take it down like New Year's Day or the day after, that weekend after New Year's. But now I leave it up until February 1st.
Oh, I love that. I'll be curious to see if a lot of people copy that for this year. I felt like trees went up really early. I've never seen more in apartment and house windows when walking around my neighborhood. And I'm curious to see if maybe people take a page out of your book, Monica, and leave it up a little longer to.
Oh, I think one year I left it up into February and people were like, come on now, you got to take that tree down.
You could do like a Valentine's tree. You just keep it up for every holiday.
Yeah. I have a friend who says she has a tree that she leaves up year round. And for every holiday, she changes the decorations.
There you go.
And I
Oh.
think that's an awesome idea.
There you go. So if you can't part with your tree, just repurpose it for the next holiday. Ooh,
And then you don't have to store it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
Because it never goes back in the box.
Right.
exactly.
Never.
Laura, did you have a idea about kind of what your work has taught you about the holidays?
Yeah, I just started thinking about this in the last week when we knew we would discuss this question. It made me realize it's really hard not to treat holidays or family gatherings like work because we're all event professionals. We just want it to be perfect. So I was thinking, what are the similarities? And there's a few. And the first one is remember why you're celebrating the holiday. Just like we always really need to think about why we're having an event, what's our client's purpose, what are their values, what do they want to get out of it. And that will help you really focus on the reason, even if you're stressed out around the holidays. The second thing is to stay organized. If things are messy and disorderly, no matter you're doing a corporate event or a sport event or a wedding or a holiday, you're not going to enjoy it. And you may go over budget. So you just have to stay organized. And that's what I've been doing is helping people stay organized and doing things for them because I like lists. I like organization. And people have told me that they're actually enjoying their time in December rather than being stressed out. And then the third thing is to be creative. Some event professionals are creative. Some are more planners. Some are both. But I think when you can do things like I've been making tons of things I can show you later. For example, I love to draw. So I draw on packages for my family and for other people. And that's just really fun. So you're always going to enjoy it. So stay organized, be creative, delegate, and remember why you're doing it.
I love that. I love the why one in particular, Laura, and I think that's so applicable for this year because holidays might not look exactly the same. Like I was just thinking for the why, I definitely focused on that with my family with Thanksgiving. We were going to all gather in person and be outside and wear masks and all that, but ended up calling it and deciding to everyone stay home and just do it virtually. And immediately in my head, I thought of how stressful it would be to try to coordinate our dinners all being hot and ready at the same time when we all got on Zoom, and felt like that stress was going to kind of take away from the purpose of like, what do we want out of the day? What's our why? Is like just to hang out and be together. So I ended up getting my grandma to teach us how to make apple pie. She always makes apple pie for Thanksgiving. And I had a little bit of pushback from some of my family. Some were excited. Some I know just were into it because I said we should do it. But to me, I always feel like doing something. And like you're saying from events, like having something to do, a shared experience helps facilitate conversation. And again, it was like, we want to hang out. And we ended up being on Zoom for like 4 hours, which I think is way longer than if we'd all tried to sit down with our hot turkey and mashed potatoes or whatever. But because I said we had time to talk. We were making pie and then we'll have time when it's in the oven to sit and chat with each other. So, but that's definitely like such a good key, I think, for people when they're trying to figure out what traditions or holiday things to like keep for this year and what to get rid of, and thinking about that why part. If you can get rid of that busyness, the busyness for the sake of being busy and focus on the important stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely. Mary, how about you? What do you think your work from events has taught you about the holidays?
I also was thinking about this, and there was two things that came to mind. So the first one is that there's always something to celebrate. I think there's always a silver lining. And also I think that there's also always someone who's in need. And that's kind of what I associate with the holidays. So like with events, a lot of my work in events is focused on fundraising events. And so these are nonprofits who have, really committed followers who want to come celebrate and support the organization. And so they want to come and support it because there's a need and they want to help alleviate that basically. And so I think it's a nice reminder of the holidays in that sense, because I associate them, like I said, with a time to celebrate and helping one another. And so that's kind of what popped in my head first. Yeah.
No, I love that. I think that's interesting too, of like how do you fill that need to help people? I think like with the events that you're doing, with helping a lot of nonprofits do stuff online, I know you and I have talked about this, but you could talk about it more of how have you seen that, like, our needs being met still this year, even though it is trying times and we aren't allowed to, gather and be together the way we normally have, and people are losing their jobs and all that, have you still found support? Like, people are supporting nonprofits now?
Yeah. Yes, I would say that they are. I think it's different from everyone. I think there's lots of different stories out there, but I think that when it comes down to it, people are still passionate about things, and if they can support, then they will. And if they can, looks different to a lot of people, depending on their life situation. But the fundraising events that I've worked on, they've all exceeded their goals for a virtual event. So I think with virtual events, you shouldn't necessarily expect to exceed your normal, like, in-person goal that you would have. But if you set maybe like a little bit of a different goal, I think that it can be successful, and I think people show up. Because I think people recognize that there's just lots of needs going on right now. And so if they can, now is kind of the time to support. So yeah, that's been my experience. I think that there's still lots to give.
I was talking to a client who's a nonprofit, and she was saying that they've gotten so many more new donors through going virtual than they ever had before.
Wow.
Whereas before they were really relying on their big donors. Mm-hmm. Now it's created a wider audience, luckily.
Sure.
And a lot of people like myself who just got laid off from my job, but I realized I also have a lot to give still, and I have a lot of fortune to be grateful for. So there was a charity called Santa's Castle that you could just go online on Amazon and buy a gift and ship it directly to them. Cool. For kids at the Joint Lewis McChord Air Force Base here in Washington. But anyway, I think the message is that it can be small, but you've got a wide audience of people who really understand and care about other people, and they really want to share.
Yeah. Well, and that's exciting. I feel like that's exciting to hear if anyone who works for a nonprofit. I know one of the groups we volunteered with, my university group, University of Virginia Alumni Club, we volunteered with last year around this time, helping collect gifts that people had like donated. Still was able to pivot and do it online, and they just did gift cards instead of actual gifts. And their organizer reached out to her to say we'd want to adopt a family as a club, and they were sold out, like not sold out, but every family got adopted. So everyone who had a need got that need met, and she had overwhelming responses from people just still wanting to figure out a way to give, even if it looked a little different this year, which she was like overwhelmed by, because I think she'd expected to see a decrease as well. So that's exciting to hear. It's new people donating.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Love that. So going on to kind of our next question, how are you guys going to go about making holiday memories here in 2020? If you have ideas or actual plans of what you're going to do this year, things you've seen that are inspiring you. Laura, you want to share first?
So this year, for the first time ever, we are having my fiance spend Christmas with us. There's never really been anyone here on our Christmas outside my immediate family, and he's from the UK. So some things that they do in the UK, like the foods they eat, we're going to try that, like roast dinners. They do kind of a little bit different vegetables than we do. And another thing I have right next to me, we started doing this in America, but do you know these Christmas crackers?
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, these are like a UK tradition, and I've done them before. I don't know if everyone does them differently, but last year we did it, and we decided to make that kind of a ongoing tradition. So I can't wait to see what's in these, because last year each one was a toy musical instrument, and it was like a director, like we ended up playing a song at the dinner table. So
are those the ones are they the ones you like pull apart and they pop open?
Pull apart, yeah, and there's like a toy, a joke, and a hat. So I'm excited to see what's in these this year, because last year it was very music based and it was just really funny.
Those are fun. Yeah. I did that with some friends one year, and that was really fun. I liked it.
Yeah. Another thing I want to do, I want to donate more this year. I've always talked about donating, like doing gifts in kind to Hospice House, which has helped my family. So I think this year I'm going to start a new tradition by taking groceries there, because I know that people who are in hospice, their families just rely on the Hospice House to kind of take care of them in terms of everything, like blankets and food. So that's going to be a new thing we're going to do this year. And I'm really excited about that, because with COVID, it just seems a bit more special.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. I actually went with a friend once to a nearby long-term care center. And she plays piano, and we just called and said, hey, can we come in and play Christmas carols for your residents? So we just went in and she played the piano and I sang songs. And I remember there was this lady in the front row and she just sat there. She was just this cute little sourpuss. And by the end of the session, she was singing along with us.
Oh,
and it was really fun. I wish we could do that. But right now, it's not a good idea to go to our long-term care centers. But maybe next year.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I guess since I overtook the mic, I've been trying to look for some fun things to do since we can't get together with family. And for me, it's just my husband and I here. So I don't have kids. And so there's not a lot of extended family to visit. I'm lucky that I have a lot of family nearby. I have 4 siblings. And my dad lives nearby. He's 86 and super healthy and super active. So he's going to do a socially distanced happy hour or open house for Christmas Day. So we each sign up for a 2-hour slot. And then each family can go in and visit with my dad and his wife and have eggnog with them. And then the next people come in and we have to leave.
I love that. Kind of an open house.
Yeah. It's kind of a bummer that we don't get to spend all the time together. Like when my mom was here and we had big family gatherings and we'd go and spend all day and my sister would make Christmas cookies and we would do puzzles or play games all day. And I miss that, but that'll come back later. But I'm really glad that we found a way that we can safely see each other, at least some of us.
Yeah.
And then we actually have, my husband's hiring a guy from out of state, and he's actually traveling here right now. He's on the road traveling from Tennessee. And so he's going to move in with us for a couple months while he finds a place for his family to move to. So now we'll be a family of 3 for Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
So there'll be some kind of new tradition. I'm sure it'll somewhere revolve around cars, since my husband and he both work on cars.
Yeah. Oh,
and if you throw the goats in there and your cats,
I know
that'll be a big family.
Really big family picture.
And I had a thought, I was looking at things like zoo lights where you can go walk around and see the lights. And then there's a couple of places that do drive-through holiday lights. And then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to get a limousine? And so you can go do all the drive-through, looking through, going out in a limousine. So you don't have to worry about imbibing any drinks while you're driving around.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not a lot we can do right now. I mean, but there is a lot we still can do. So I think car services are still allowed, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
Hey, let's order up a limo and go do some holiday lights looking.
There you go.
Holiday lights in style.
I love that.
Right.
Well, I was just trying to think, Monica, of how I love your family. Like that open house idea is actually super cool. And I'm just trying to think of how you guys could come up with a fun, like memento of the day. If there was some way to take a family picture, but it was like your dad, that he stayed at the same place in a chair, and you guys each, your spouse took a picture that's to his right, and then the next person at the next time slot does it to the left, so you can splice it all into one big photo or something.
Well, that could, there's Photoshop and people could do that. I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure there's somebody that could do that.
That's
cool.
I'm trying to think, or something cute. That's the other part. I know I've been really trying to think of as much as I'm not liking how much it's throwing us off our routines, how do you still remember this time? Because I think we're, so much has happened in the last couple months. it's like, this is, a historic time that we're in. So how do you still embrace it and do something fun like that? Like I joked to my mom, we should make our Christmas card just as the Zoom screenshot of us from Thanksgiving.
Yes, please
She
do
wants
that.
she wants to do something a little more formal, but I was like, Mom, it's so real. Like, this is really what it is.
Yeah. We tried to do a Zoom thing for our whole family, but some of our family members are less conducive to technology than others.
Yeah.
And they were just like, I don't know how to do this. I'm out. But I love that idea, like the pie baking. Like, I can't believe you could stay on there for 4 whole hours. It's amazing.
It went by really quick. Like, again, if you said, Logan, I'm going to make you sit here for 4 hours, I'd probably call you crazy. But it was like, we looked up and it was like, oh no, we've been on since 9 a.m. my time, 12 Eastern. Like, it's 4 now, it was kind of cool. And I know for me, that's what I'm probably, out of all of us, I know I love the virtual experiences and events the most out of stuff of just terms of how do you make the most of the virtual event space? If you're hanging out with family, because I will say for me, like, my family started a Zoom. We now do a weekly Zoom call. When COVID hit, we started doing it just to update everybody, and that stuck. And I will say we were not doing weekly family calls before COVID, and now it's like a tradition that we try to do almost every week. And same thing with Thanksgiving. We got to talk to my extended family. We played, what's the game? It's a game on your phone. It's not like Unseen. It's
Jackbox.
It was almost one of the Jackbox games. We played Jackbox, and then there's another one where it's kind of like a whodunit mystery, but it's on your phone. But anyway, we're able to get together with all my cousins and aunts and uncles who we used to all do Christmas together when I was really little. And then as we all got older, the kids, our lives got busier, and we just couldn't coordinate coming together for the holidays. And we did Thanksgiving game night for, I want to say, another 3 hours of stuff. We got playing a game where, again, I was like, having that activity kind of distracts you from the fact of just sitting here, because it doesn't matter how much you love people. I think if you sit down and just say, hey, start talking, and you don't have something to do, or even for this discussion, we put together kind of a loose plan of what we wanted to talk about. And that just helps you have that foundation to do something.
Yeah, I agree. I love activity. Unfortunately, my husband and his family hate to play games. And I love games. I grew up on games. I am like, does anybody want to come over and play a game with me? And then I have a cousin in, I think she's in, I don't know, Tennessee or something. I don't even know where she lives. And she put together this game night every week during the summer. And so I'm talking to her and friends of hers that I've never met before, and we're playing Jackbox games, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like those moments of, how do you have some form of a connection? I think for me, the biggest, and one of the reasons for this is, like, to me, holidays is so much about connecting with people and being there with people. And if we don't have that, how do you still have that connection? And I think there are some tools like that, like playing games. Maybe it's not, would I prefer to play games in person? Sure. But on the alternative of doing nothing, no, that's kind of helpful for me. And like, Laura, going back to your earlier point about being creative, like, I know definitely my family just kind of tags along with some of my ideas, because I think they understand that that's me being creative, of trying to think of something different for us to do. I can't draw, but I can try to think of something a little bit more like something out of the box for us to try.
So no Pictionary for you, but maybe something else.
I'm happy to guess, but I don't think they're going to guess mine.
I love when those who say they can't draw play Pictionary. It's so much more entertaining.
Well, you know what I found is the people that can't draw do better because they do stick figures that are super fast.
Yeah.
And the people that think they can draw, they do too much detail and they get bogged down in it.
Noted. Okay, so you guys can pick me first for your Pictionary teams.
I'm with you. I cannot draw to save my life.
Yeah, again, this is where, again, with events, I'm like, I'm the logistics person. I think I'm creative in certain ways, but I also, when people ask if I'm creative, I'm like, depends what you mean by that. If you mean drawing, no, don't ask me to do that. But trying to think outside the box.
How about Scrabble?
Ooh, yes.
Scrabble's great. You have to be creative for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It's creative a different way. Laura, I have a question for you. Okay. What is the most interesting request you've gotten as you're in your holiday buddy business over the last couple months?
I thought about this for a long time, and I can't think of anything weird, but I have a weird suggestion for people to ask.
Yes.
Okay, so you need to clean your car before Christmas, and I'll tell you why. because there are so many drive-through light parks, installations, zoos, whatever. Because I'm in a rural place, some of those are an hour away. You carpool with family. Nobody wants to ride in a messy car. Nobody wants to do that. And I don't know how many times I've gotten into a car and the driver's embarrassed. You don't want to be that person saying, let's not take my car. It's so dirty. So I really want someone to ask me to clean their car because I clean my car all the time. Organize it. I mean, there's so many things you can do for kids' toys and even adults, like make your own drink cup holder out of just tons of things. So yeah, there's a suggestion to whoever's watching.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely thought you were gonna go. I was hoping, Laura, you might have like someone asked you to wrap an inside joke gift that you like just didn't understand, like one sock. Like it'd just be like, why are they like? Because then someone's like, I don't want to wrap this, and then they just give you no context for what they're wrapping, what you're wrapping it for.
I guess the funniest thing that I've wrapped, and I can say this because I know that my friend's child doesn't have Facebook. He really wanted a cowboy hat, and I thought that was really funny for this like really hardcore looking cowboy hat. It was, it was a real cowboy hat, and he's 11, I think. And I thought that was kind of funny because everything else was very predictable, toys and whatnot. But that was kind of you're a cool kid.
Yeah, he's gonna love it.
Yeah. 11-year-old with a super cool cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I want one now.
Monica, I'm going to popcorn over to you. With your background in food, managing catering, do you have any ideas? I know you have a creative drink right now that maybe you share that first, but then if that spills into what other creative kind of holiday drinks would you suggest people could make at home?
Well, okay, so this I just made up on the fly. I'm calling it a chocolate-covered cherry Manhattan. So I had some any kind of bourbon, some creamed cacao, some Kirschwasser, which is cherry brandy, and then I had some chocolate bitters. And then shake that all up, and it turned out really good for something I just kind of invented in my head and then made, and went, that'll work.
Yeah. It sounds like an official drink, Monica.
Right. I think that's going to be a new tradition. My dad loves chocolate-covered cherries, so I always buy him a box of those for Christmas every year. So I'll have to send him the recipe for this so he can make his own chocolate-covered cherry Manhattan.
I was going to say, you could probably put one in as a garnish or something, put two on like a little toothpick in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some to give him, but I didn't want to open it up. I have it has a cherry in it.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
It's one of those, it's one of those really good dark cherries from Trader Joe's. Oh, they're really good. Mm-hmm.
Yum.
Amareno cherries, I think they're called. So I think, for adult parties, coming up with some fun new cocktails, because a lot of people, they love to try concoctions, but nobody knows where to begin. And I have a friend who has a Facebook page called The Accidental Mixologist, and she makes up drinks all the time. And that's kind of like her thing.
Yeah.
And I used to always make up a drink for every, I used to have open houses 4 times a year. And so they would always have a signature drink, or I would help people who were having weddings make up a signature drink. So it could be, I want it this flavor profile, or I want it this color, and kind of decide what your goal is. And then you can figure out what ingredients. And there's a lot of websites that can help people with that too. Like I used to use one called idrink.com. Of course, you have to be 21 to enter the site. For people with kids, I remember as a child, we used to make these cookies called no-bake cookies. And they were like, you know what I'm talking about, Laura. So they're like chocolate and coconut, and I think they had oatmeal in them. But you'd mix up this batter. My sister was a really, really good baker. And so she used to do all that baking. And I was the youngest, so I was interested. And so that's a really good super easy holiday treat that the kids can make, and they don't have to turn on the oven.
Oh, wow.
So it's really easy. You just kind of drop them on wax paper, and then they kind of mold into these little chocolate haystacks, and they're delicious. And I always think, like, my sister, who's the baker, she does holiday cookies for Easter and for Christmas and gingerbread. And she's really, really good at decorating. Like, she made her own wedding cake. She made her own wedding cake and froze it so that, you know, she could make it ahead of time. And it was beautiful. So I think that's kind of a fun thing as an activity. If you're at home with kids, you know, you can make the cookies, but then have all of the toppings and everything for them to decorate. And man, you could do that on a Zoom thing. That would take hours. And have a little contest for, you know, your favorite cookie, and you vote on it, or I don't know.
I saw someone do that the other day, post on Facebook, the groups like gingerbread houses, and the random Facebook friends voted, and someone won a prize. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, a little fun and healthy competition. I think a lot of people love that.
Well, I just think even like your idea, even I laugh because you're saying like for kids, it definitely is for kids, but then I'm also like, or really bored adults, like well, something that feels achievable, like no bake cookies. You're like, oh yeah, that's nice. Or decorate, like you're saying, like you might make cookies normally, but how do you make it fun? You could get icing and decorate them, just, you know, whatever normal cookie you make. But just
well, like
add something.
Or just figuring out what you have and make do with it. The other day I had these bananas, of course, that are going overripe. And I'm like, well, instead of making another loaf of banana bread, which I always do, I looked up a recipe for a banana coconut cake and made a bundt cake.
Ooh.
And
that
it was
sounds delicious.
Yeah, I still have like
Monica, where'd you say you live again? Can I come over?
You should come over. I cannot eat all that
distant cake. Outside for some cake.
And then I think for savory, like when people are stuck home, I mean, we all think about comfort food, and you know, we're like quarantine 15, who cares? I mean, it's the holidays, right?
The holidays, come on.
But some new twists on comfort food, or sometimes you don't have something, you have to think on the fly and get creative and make up a new recipe, and then it becomes like your favorite thing. So I think people should not be afraid to substitute, try something new. And Google's a great resource. I'm cooking one day and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have any eggs, and I'm trying to make meatballs and you needed something binding. So I'm Googling, what can I, what can I substitute for egg or whatever? And
that literally happened to me, Monica, the other day. I think I ended up using ricotta cheese.
Right. And some oil will help, but you need something sticky like that. Definitely breadcrumb, right? But so the other day I have this little turnover tool, pastry tool, that like, it looks like a clamshell. You put the dough in it and it flips it over and it makes like the perfect little edge, little scalloped edge. So I was like, what am I going to do for that? I want to do something boring. So I'm searching on the internet, and I found this recipe for, because it's like empanadas is what they look like. But, I just don't love empanadas. They're kind of dry and boring. And then, so I found, but I love Greek food. So I found this recipe for this Greek pastry. So it's like lamb. Well, actually it was ground beef, but I'm going to switch it to lamb.
Ooh.
And then I did one with like black currants and some cheese, and you've got to have, there's just so many things. I have so many cookbooks and I never use them anymore. I just Google recipes.
Monica, I've been like that. I've been trying to think of times I've wanted to buy a cookbook, and I was like, Logan, you always just Google it. Like, I was like, I've never been like, oh, I'm going to go to that recipe and buy book. Like I want to be that person, but Google.
Everybody has one recipe book though, that you could never, ever top. Right.
Yeah.
And for mine, it's the Herb Farm. I bought a book at an auction that was signed by Jerry Tronfeld, a James Beard award-winning chef here in the Washington area. And everything I have made in that book, my husband is like, everything you have made from that book has been like a gold star winner.
Wow. So the Herb Farm. I'm going to write that down.
The Herb Farm cookbook. Oh my gosh. And it's a lot easier to cook from that in the summertime when the herbs are blooming and fresh. But I think just in general, comfort food, and I love ethnic twists on it. Get creative.
Yeah. And I guess
I
Monica,
love that it exists. Yeah.
just follow up on a quick like question on that then, because I find myself, I'm not someone who cooks a lot normally in non-COVID times, and now I'm cooking all the time, and then we're coming up on holidays, which is about cooking more. Like, how do you keep it fun? If your answer is back to Google, or try to make a twist on what you're doing, but how do you keep it fun and not make it feel like a chore if you've already been cooking more than you normally do with the holidays?
Well, that's because you're doing something different, and you're not doing something because you have to. Oh, everybody's sitting around waiting for dinner. I have to make dinner. But instead, maybe when everybody goes out for a run, or they leave the house and you have some quiet time, you get to do something you want to do. And maybe that's sweet, maybe that's savory. But I think just to do something different. I used to say I never thought I was a good cook. I never was a chef. I mean, I had chefs and I ran the business, and I'm a foodie, but I didn't know how to cook. And I grew up in a family. My dad's from Alabama and my mom's from Montana, and neither one of them were really very good cooks. I love them dearly, but I grew up eating a lot of peanut butter sandwiches.
Made with lots of love.
Yeah, I'm made for myself. She's like, if you don't like my cooking, you can go make yourself a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love cooking now. But people used to say, oh, I don't know how to cook. And I said, well, do you know how to read? They're like, well, duh, yeah. And I'm like, well, if you can read, you can cook. You just have to have the patience to follow the directions. So, and in the beginning, like, timing is so hard when you're doing a full meal. But if you just, maybe if somebody is just starting out, just do one thing. And maybe like when we have get-togethers, like we will after COVID with friends, we kind of potluck, like, I'm going to do this course and you do that course. And we all come together and make a meal, but you only have to focus on one thing. You don't have to worry about all the timing.
Oh, that's a good point. Even with the holidays, like being at home, right? You could still just, if there's one dish you're nostalgic for, instead of trying to kill yourself and do a whole meal,
Yeah.
for one or two people, you focus on whatever that one dish is.
Well, and comfort food often is a one pot dish. Big pot of mac and cheese, and throw your protein in it. Throw some pulled pork in your mac and cheese for a Southern treat.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh.
I think it's getting close to dinner time, at least for the
I know, it kind of is.
Pacific Standard Time.
No more taco food.
Always. I love it.
We'll pivot away from food for a little bit so we all don't eat each other.
Mary, don't say pivot.
Yeah, it's the word of 2020. We all pivot. Monica, do you have a problem with the word pivot?
Yeah.
I think I have a love-hate relationship. I liked it at the beginning because I'm like, all right, I guess we have to pivot. And then now, like, I think just because it's been around too long, it's like, I don't know if you can still call it a pivot or if it's just like an adjustment.
Right. It's a paradigm shift. That's what I call it.
Paradigm. That is nice. That's much more buzzworthy. I was like, pivot's been a good buzzword. So there you go.
Pivot's a great buzzword.
Shift. Yeah.
That's a little more, I don't know, intellectual.
I like it. Yeah. Well, adjustment. You don't see adjustment going on cute mugs anywhere, but pivot could, or a paradigm shift. Mary, I have a question for you. What are some tips that you've seen with like companies or organizations you've been working with to have a festive holiday party in the coming weeks? That is more than just like a Zoom call.
Yes, I'm really excited about this. I have some ideas and I did write them down because I don't want to forget anything.
You have the hardest question of all.
Yes. And some of them are things we've already talked about, actually. So it fits perfectly. But so I guess so if you're a company and you're not sure how to celebrate like your team at the end of the year, or maybe you're part of like a board of directors and you usually have a holiday social, but you don't know what to do now, or maybe you're like in Rotary or something. I feel like each of us might be in some type of group like that, and they might just cancel it, or they might just have like a boring Zoom meeting, which by now I think we're all trying to get away from that a little bit. So I'm hoping that this applies to most people. So I made a list, and the first one is what we already mentioned, which is Jackbox TV, which is jackbox.tv. That's the website. Not sponsored in this video, but that would be great. It's pretty popular nowadays. I think a lot of people have played it. But it's basically a game that you can play over the internet, and they have a lot of funny games And like I play it with my family who lives in another state, but I've also heard of teams playing it like in their team meetings just to kind of shake things up a little bit. And it does cost money, but it's very affordable. And I think that it's well worth it. And you can even host this over Zoom easily enough. It's really not that complicated to do so. So that's something that is fun and that I know has had a lot of success, as we already kind of talked about today. So it's a good one.
Well, and I know, Mary, for that, just to jump in, I know Jackbox also offers a variety of, I want to say, capacity, right? I feel like with my family, we've played around, like some of the games have limits, but there are some that are pretty unlimited. So if you're on a company side, you could do it with a couple people, or you could do it with 50 people.
You can do it with teams, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of depends, but yeah, there's ways you could swing it based on what game you're playing and how big your team is. But yeah, definitely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So the second one is, so I went to a virtual event about virtual events, and Logan was there too. And this was yesterday. And I was really impressed with it. I just love to see how people, like I said before, kind of like shaking things up, especially in the virtual world right now. And so they had like live ice carving that you viewed virtually, obviously. But the guy was carving it live. And so like we could ask him questions and things like that. And he would answer them while he's got like his chainsaw and carving the ice. It was really cool though. It was different. They also did a live demo of a hot chocolate charcuterie board, which was just kind of fun and cute. And I like
multiple
that.
camera angles. It looks great from a production standpoint. Monica, they had the overhead shot of her workstation with all her cute decorations.
I want to see
and
that.
then the front shot.
So that's like toppings for your hot chocolate?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you could call it charcuterie at that point, but she made it seem really cute. And I was like, I'm here for it. And they presented it both as like, you're here by yourself doing this, or if you had people over, you could, you're labeling things and all that.
We did that last year at Ocean 5 for hot chocolate stations.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Monica, I'm a sucker for, and when we're back to in-person, I'm a sucker for a good interactive station.
Okay.
At any in-person event now, being back in the U.S., I think I did a donut bar at a TEDx Seattle event I helped organize, and I was like, we tried to do a s'mores bar because they sold me on it, and then the building wouldn't allow us to have an open flame, so we had to pivot to a donut bar, and it still was like the most. That was like all they raved about, not the fancy charcuterie that we had, but
The donuts.
Yeah. It was I think Foods Catering did it. And I was like, I was endeared to them forever because I was like, this is amazing. Like this
Shelby and her team are so creative. Oh my God, they do a great job. She does things that you don't think of. And then you're like, why didn't I think of this? It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, they're doing, I think I have to look more into it, but they just posted about doing interactive kind of like mailer food and beverage things. So all the ingredients, like you're saying, Monica, for like a festive drink that you could order for your house for a party, or you ordered everyone for parties.
Yeah, you can order. It's a care package.
Yeah. Again, food. If you can't tell, the food theme for me,
Food's on the mind.
Carry into virtual world. Yeah, literally.
Okay, we hijacked Mary. You have more ideas.
Oh, that's okay. I've been
ideas.
talking about food forever. Yeah. Something else that they had, and this is, a free option. I love that word. So on YouTube, you can find like a bunch of interesting videos. It's just kind of something I don't know. It's something different that you could do. So they had like 4K walks through the snow, and there's kind of like ambient sound. Like you can hear him like crunching in the snow as he was walking. And I was kind of like relaxing. So I liked it. I thought it was cool. So they have stuff like that on YouTube. They had a video of puppies playing in the snow, and I don't think it gets much better than that. So that's just cute. And they have like virtual reality Santa sleigh rides all over YouTube as well. And so they're just kind of fun. It's something different that just takes a little bit of time.
What I love, sorry to piggyback, Mary.
Go for it, please.
That was I think the placement of where they put that was really interesting for that event yesterday. Was they put them in the sponsor booths. So it was the same virtual page because, and that's like, I think a lot of the companies are trying to figure out how do you engage people to go to your booth virtually when in person, you usually get them there with free food or like giveaways or, I don't know if any of you guys are those people that like get really excited about those experiences or if you're one who like, doesn't make eye contact with people when you're walking past all these booths. But I thought that was a cute way for the organizers to try to incentivize you to go over there because they had sponsors, but then they also had booths that had like, listen, go on a virtual walk in the snow or watch adorable puppies in the snow in addition to interacting with our sponsors. I thought that was like a very good positioning on their part to mix it up.
Totally. Yeah. It was a fun event about events, definitely. And then I have one last idea just to wrap it up with my portion. So I'll share something that I did with a local group of fundraising professionals, and it was super fun. So we just had a holiday social on Zoom, and we talked about Pictionary earlier, so this is wrapping that in. We use the whiteboard feature on Zoom. And so like if you share your screen and you can click whiteboard, then you can draw for everyone to see. And so we did this in breakout rooms because our group was pretty large. So like each room had 6 people and everyone had their turn, just normal Pictionary rules applied. And it was hilarious. It was so much fun. And I just like can't even explain it because it was so much fun because it was Pictionary on a whiteboard on your computer. And so it was like so much worse because of that, which like I said before, that's what makes the best Pictionary. So it was
I didn't even know you could do that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You should try the option where one person draws it on the computer, so it still won't be great, and then everyone else has to wear a blindfold or close their eyes and try to do it.
I remember doing that like at a baby shower or bridal shower or something.
It's
That's
really,
like
I've
that.
done it on the computer, and it's really funny because it's never going to be good, ever.
So you're trying to mimic. So one person draws it, and then everybody else gets to look at it real quick, and then they have to close their eyes and try to mimic it. And then what do you vote on? Like whoever's the closest.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you give the person who's the really good artist to draw the first one.
Yeah.
And then all of us stick figure people try to mimic.
Especially with your eyes
With their
closed.
eyes closed.
Even
on
worse
the
on a
computer.
computer. I was going to say, at least on paper, you can kind of like feel where your edges are.
Right.
I feel like I'd like leave Zoom accidentally. Like you just click the leave the room or something.
Like, I can't even do my signature on one of those pads at the grocery store. I don't think I can draw on the computer.
If they did like a police lineup of all of my signatures on e-signing for
Right?
places, they were like, Logan, which one's yours? I was like, I wouldn't be able to tell you half of them.
It's on the day. Yeah.
It's scribble,
It's
scribble,
this
scribble.
squiggly, or is it that squiggly?
Oh gosh, that's so funny. I love that. That's such like a fun idea, and I feel like that's a good way just to like mix it up. Because Barry's heard me gripe about this a lot. I just like if it's just a call, like if it's a Zoom call, and you've planned nothing, and it doesn't, and people don't have fun, like you haven't set yourself up to succeed. Like because I think we've all gotten over the just hop on it. Like this is cool. Let's put all the funny filters on. Like we're past that stage, and so having something.
Anything to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and for me, like to add to kind of your points too, Mary, like it's so much easier also to leave a virtual event. So even if it's an internal company party, like in person, it's, I feel like it's so much more dramatic, and maybe that's just me because I'm like for some of my social anxiety of like just to leave, like be like everyone noticed that I just got up and walked out. But there's at least that like social pressure versus here in the virtual world, like all you have to do is just hit exit and you're off. Like
blame it
how
on your
quick you can lose
connection.
people. Yeah, exactly. Like going through a tunnel, can't. You just can't. Like people could leave if they're bored, and so trying to think of ways that you're kind of like surprising and delighting people. I know with anything virtually, and I think that carries it in person. We all have tried to do that in person, but I think virtually it takes away some of the things that you normally have to be able to surprise and delight. Like I know Monica, you mentioned you're opening a event space, and like. I think venues are hurting right now, but I also think people have never learned how much they get from venues once you take the venues away, because you can't distract people with the gorgeous setting. You have your content's not great. Usually you can be like, oh, but the location was gorgeous and this was great and the food was delicious. Like you're taking all that away in the virtual world. So I'm excited for us to come back to being able to do in-person things, because I think we'll appreciate some of those nuances that we were without, but we'll also been able to have improved some of the stuff that maybe posting on, like that interactive part from virtual things. But
Yep.
Yeah,
it's about gratitude right now, and be grateful for what we have, not for what we've lost. And that's going to carry over.
I feel you.
Mhm.
I feel like that's easier said than done sometimes, but
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody is on a daily mood calendar. You know, I remember back in the days when there was MySpace and they had like a mood thing. And I was never on MySpace, but I had an employee who was, and I had a friend who was. And my friend comes up to me and she's like, you know, your manager who, you know, your assistant you work with, her mood changes every single day. Oh my gosh.
just from her MySpace updates. Oh my gosh.
So,
Well, I
I
think
mean,
Facebook, when it first started too, also used to do that. It would be like, how are you feeling? Happy?
Yes,
Sad?
Laura
Right.
is feeling.
yeah, they
Thank God
I'm
they
glad
took
they
it
got rid of
away.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, 2020, I don't think would have handled the amount of complex emotions.
I would like to see like a graph of the mood swings that everybody's gone through.
Yes. I think all of us each would have our own very interesting curves of ups and downs and everything.
Right.
But speaking of ups and downs, as we kind of look ahead though to the future into 2021, I'd love everyone to kind of go around and just share what's a goal that you have, you know, personally and professionally for 2021. I know I'd written down goals for this year that I'm excited to laugh at in the next week or two when I go back to look at. I'd revisited them like 6 months ago and actually was pleasantly surprised I accomplished like 1 or 2 of them by just kind of dumb luck of trying to expand my business here in the US from working abroad. But a lot of the big ones were just, you know, January me had no idea what was coming. So looking ahead, what's kind of something that you guys have in your sights for 2021?
Who's going first?
I'll go first. Okay. Personally, I am moving to another country again.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, people watching me be like, well, I thought you were in your hometown for a long time. Yeah, moving to the UK. So that was supposed to happen this year, but COVID, you know, delayed the wedding 3 times or so. I've lost count. So moving to the UK and wedding next November. Hope to see Logan there. Why don't you all come? Everyone can come now.
I love UK. I love it. So good.
Yeah. Oh,
Congratulations.
professionally, thank you. I have a lot of things I want to do next year. Same with as you, Logan. The goals I made back in late December, early January are just I don't even know if they're relevant anymore. But I guess the biggest thing is how to do the transition of business in China, where we were, and then we've been in the US, now to the UK. I mean, they're all 3 very different places.
Wow.
It's a big task, but you can do it.
I can do it.
2020's made you invincible. So of all the years to be able to do it, 2021's the year.
Yeah.
That's right. We could see clearly in 2020 that we need to up our game in 2021, right?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
That or it's just more just by surviving. To me, it's more like I feel like surviving this year has made you that much, you know, stronger and different. Or at least for myself, I feel like it's made me stronger and more resilient in ways that I think I posed this question to you guys earlier. Sorry, we're pausing on goals real quick. But that if you could go back and tell January you what was coming down the pipeline, would you? And I think Monica, if I remember, you said you had an interesting answer to that one.
I don't remember. What did I say?
I want to say that you wouldn't have wanted to because then you wouldn't have known it wasn't ending. Like it was helpful just to kind of be like, the next couple weeks. Okay, the next couple weeks.
I remember saying that. Yeah, like boiling the frog slowly.
Yes.
Which is clearly what is happening to us. But if we had gone into this knowing that we would be shut down this long, or that it would have gone into a wave and then another shutdown, I think a lot of people would have bailed. I feel like in our industry, hospitality, food and beverage, travel, some people cut their losses and they left. And that's, you know, in the Tacoma area, there were a few restaurants and catering companies that did that. And I understand that from a financial point of view, that makes sense. But if you're not in it for your heart and soul and your passion, then why do it if it's a losing proposition? But those that are staying in it because they're resilient and they're passionate. And that is what is going to stick around. And at the end of the day, it's super, super sad that we're going to lose a lot of businesses, and we already have. So if people can just hang on a bit longer and survive, because it's all about, like you said, Logan, it's all about survival. If we can hang on, then we will reap the fruits of that. And 2021 is going to be an awesome year. And that's why for my professional goal was with Table 47, to just come back stronger. We launched offsite catering last year, and I had booked a bunch of weddings this summer, which all got postponed till next year, of course. So I just am excited to actually produce those events finally, and build a name and build relationships with our industry and with venues and with event professionals like you guys, so that I can help that business grow. Because the owner of Table 47 in Ocean 5 is a fantastic person. Like, I remember watching a TV show, some movie or something, where they were like robbing a bank, and they told everybody, okay, raise your hand if your boss is a millionaire. They all raise their hand. They're like, okay, now raise your other hand if he's an asshole. Can I say that on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I could only raise one hand because, the man that owns our business is wealthy. He used to be the CFO or the COO of Starbucks. And so that is what has kept us in business this long, is that we had that backing, but mostly because he had a passion for what this business model is, and he cares. And it has a lot to do with connections and getting people together, while also observing our environment. And it's called Ocean 5 because the mission is to produce ways of living life and enjoying company while also being conscientious about our environment and saving our oceans. So he's passionate about all those things, and I really, really admire and respect that. So I want to help his business grow and flourish. And I know we're going to come back and do that. So that's one of my big goals for 2021. And then on a personal level, building my own business here. And they've been really cool about that. They know that I've been doing this. I mean, they knew when I took the job that I was building a venue. And of course, Table 47 will be a preferred caterer.
Of course.
But our venue out here is called Events at Raven Ridge. And it's going to start out really simple because we've had some financial blows this year, but we'll grow. It's going to be a beautiful outdoor setting. And I think a lot of people are going to gravitate toward outdoor settings next year because they're going to feel safer that their event can continue.
Yep.
And so I think that'll be something that'll be a boon for us. And that also because so many events canceled in 2020 and then rolled over to 2021. Now all the venues that were in business, if they're still in business, and hopefully most of them are, they're going to be booked because they're trying to book 2 years worth of weddings into 1 year. So I'm hoping that they'll say, hey, I know about a brand new venue in Port Orchard called Events at Raven Ridge. So hope, and then the last part of that professional and personal goal is my husband is a fantastic fabricator. He owns a company in Kent, Washington called Godspeed Fabrication. And he builds custom race cars, hot rods, all kinds of vehicles, metalwork. But they're all custom builds like you see on TV shows all the time, like Bitchin' Rides. One of his old employees actually works for that company now, is on TV on their show.
Wow.
And Rob trained him. So we're going to be building a shop here on site so that eventually he can bring the business home and he doesn't have to commute an hour to Kent every day.
Wow.
And
and ties into your venue business if you have some cool cars for the people to take pictures with.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already got 2 farm trucks that people can take pictures with. And then we can actually drive around the pasture in the farm truck to deliver them to their ceremony if they want to.
Cool.
Oh my gosh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. My partner Archie, he's building an event venue, and that's like his dream is to have a farm truck. So we'll have to come visit when we're allowed to, because he literally he wants an old truck and put old writing on it that says Sky Song. But theirs is more a garden than a pasture. But very cool. That sounds so awesome, Monica. And I agree with you so much on that about I think the business as a venue. You're going to see so many venues, the ones that keep making it are about to have 2 years of business in 1 year. And then even for next year, and having that, I think people are going to start looking for spaces that can be flexible, whether it's, just having that outdoor space, because you just never, we don't know. I think that's, to me, the hardest part of looking ahead is like, we're never certain of the future, but I feel like we've been never so uncertain of the future that I couldn't tell you what it's going to look like. But
so you're right. Flexibility is the biggest thing right now. Who's going to be flexible with their time, with their space? We can, if they have to have an outdoor event, but they have to have a tent with walls, we can bring whatever they need in. It's like a blank slate that can be made into anything.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think a lot of places have created those kinds of flexibilities, and that's what's keeping them relevant.
Yeah. Well, best of luck for 2021. Hopefully we'll have to do a status report in a year from now, and everybody can
good idea.
Back on their goals.
That's right. Keep us accountable.
Exactly. This is public accountability right here. Mary, what are you thinking about for personally and professionally for 2021?
Well, so I have a personal goal to start a garden, because I'm trying to be more self-sufficient. And so I think that would be fun. I don't know if I have a green thumb. I have no idea. We'll find out. I've been thinking, like, if only I could grow toilet paper, that would be amazing.
2021
You just have to learn how to manufacture the toilet paper.
That's probably better.
No, I think you could definitely find plants that have like comfy leaves.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
What about hemp toilet paper, right?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So this could turn into something, apparently.
You got ideas here.
Yeah. So that's my personal goal. My professional goal is, drum roll, please. Okay. Logan Clements and Logan, I hope she's here for everyone else. We are going to be launching a podcast about stuff like this. So we'll talk about events, and it's going to be awesome. And that's all I'm going to say about it. So we'll leave you hanging.
That's our public accountability for ourselves. Yes. Both Mary and I have wanted to start a podcast for a really long time. Are you
calling out We Be Hanging?
We Be Hanging.
We're taking suggestions, Monica. Yes. We're open to anything.
I like it. It's casual, it's approachable, it's fun.
There you go.
Mary's quest to grow her own toilet paper.
That's all that is about.
We'll have a segment on that, just status updates. Has Mary grown toilet paper yet? Yes or no? No. Okay, we're moving on to our next segment. And
great idea.
I love it. Yeah. Well, for me, for 2021, I don't know. I think it's been hard for me to set something super concrete. I have like it all I have a to-do list, lovely to-do list of wanting to sit down and really think through it. But I think my overarching professional goal will be a lot of what we've just been talking about, of like how do I transfer everything I've learned this year into a sustainable long-term model in terms of like doing virtual events. I found my work has been really seasonal in terms of having really busy months and then really, really slow months. And maybe hoping that this virtual expansion, because I think hybrid events are here to stay for this foreseeable future, even as we're allowed to go back to in-person things, could be a way to help kind of more stabilize my business month to month. In addition to like Laura talking about you going to the UK, like when we both worked together in Shanghai and had moved to the US, and it felt like starting over. Like you were talking about, Monica, all those relationships with vendors and the people, and I'm always like, I know exactly who to call. Like I have an ice guy in Shanghai that if I ever needed ice at an event, I could call him and he'd come to me no matter where I was on a little scooter with like bags and bags of ice and we'd be fine. I don't have that in Seattle yet. So it's been really fun. A fun silver lining for me has been meeting all these event professionals now around the country who are good at what they do and passionate about what they do, but in the virtual space. And because we don't have that constraint of location, when I have projects, it's fun to be able to say, oh, I can call, good people. And it doesn't matter if they're in New York or if they're in Seattle or Arkansas or wherever, we can call them. So I think for me, my goal will just be to continue to leverage that network and that skill set while also trying to help marry it with what I was doing in person with doing like sports production and now this virtual event production, and how do I kind of carry those two forward? Because I do miss sports. I do miss us being in person and like 50,000 people in a stadium with dance cams and a mascot's just warmed my heart and make me smile so much, and like t-shirt cannons and all.
I'm glad at least we have NFL playing.
We do,
if
yes.
There's no spectators, unfortunately.
Yes, being able to watch football has been fun. I will say that getting to watch some sports, but
and I did a fantasy league for the last few years, so that makes it like you have something invested. It's fun.
It is. That's my
competition.
Top suggestion for anyone trying to get into American football would be to play fantasy. It makes you care about teams other than maybe your own. If you have a home team that you supported, it gets you invested in other games. I've slowly gotten into it. When I first did it, it was just to be like, oh, I'm doing it. And then this year I'm actually following my players, which has been fun when we turn a game on. It's like, oh, wait, I got the running back. Let's watch this for a little bit. Oh, he's doing good. Okay, let's go.
So this year, I have to, a little side note this, I got the #1 draft pick on my league this year. And of course, I listened to ESPN suggestions, and it said to pick McCaffrey. Okay, I need a star running back. 1 week, and he was sidelined for injury. Yeah. Then he came back 1 week, sidelined for another 3 weeks. Then they came back. He's going to play this Sunday. And then just today, he got injured again.
Oh no.
I'm so beside myself. This guy is like made of glass.
I think he found out you picked him first, and he was like, well, Monica's got everything riding on it. I think this is the year I'm going to take some time off.
I think this is the first year I'm not going to go into the playoffs with my team.
Oh, no.
Man.
Rough year all around.
Yeah, God, add that to the list of things for 2020. Jeez.
Oh, well. It's just football.
This has been lovely with all of you ladies, but I do want to kind of, as we start to wrap up, I would love for everyone to go around the horn real quick and say what's one key takeaway from today's discussion about the upcoming holidays that you want to leave everybody with. It could be a tip, a memory, a suggestion. It could be something new that you didn't get a chance to get to.
I think what I've taken away, or kind of what has come to mind from everything we've discussed, is just like, let's end 2020 with a bang, but like a good one. Like, it's almost over anyway, and we know that it sucked. So let's just enjoy it while we, the last couple weeks of it, and find ways to celebrate, find the good in the rest of the year, and then we'll just start 2021 fresh. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to with what Laura was saying about be creative and finding creative ways to enjoy what we have. And with Logan, you're talking about, like I've not been one to gravitate toward the virtual event, but this has been really fun. And I've had a couple other events that have been really fun. And then the last thing I was going to mention earlier about how to enjoy this time with friends and family. So one of my best friends is getting married on New Year's Eve. And so one of my goals in this coming year, she has asked my husband to officiate because he got his license to officiate for some friends here last summer. So I'm also going to get my license to officiate this year, and that'll be one of the services that we'll offer here.
Cool.
So yeah, she's having a really small wedding, and they're going to get married at 12:01. So it'll be on January 1st, 2021.
Oh, very cute.
And I think that's really cool. Obviously it has to be small, but so I'm really looking forward to kicking off the new year with some joy and some love, and remembering that we have that all the time, no matter what else is going on.
Yeah. Laura, what's your takeaway?
I have two takeaways. One is to be open-minded. Instead of just sitting around sulking that the holidays may not be like you normally have them. Be open-minded because, like you said, Monica, I've had a lot of fun tonight. And I haven't really done virtual things with people in the last year. I just haven't embraced it. I think this has inspired me to. The second thing is to support your small and local businesses. Because this year I was thinking, you can give services, not just like a gift card to a store, but the people that do your nails or your hair or mow your lawn, gift that service for 2-3 months to a family member or something, because that will really help out people that have been having a lot of trouble this year getting business.
Great idea.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, yeah, that goes back. I think, yeah, Laura, when you first started, of just kind of focusing on your why. Why are what's the meaning behind why you're doing what you're doing, has been my biggest takeaway. And I think when you're doing with the holidays this year, if you're celebrating, not with your family like you normally do, it is a good time to kind of. I was thinking about it with Thanksgiving, of like, never in my life would there ever be any other way, where you'd have an excuse to not be with your family. Again, I love my family, want to be with them, but this is the reason is not because of money for flights or too busy or anything. It's like, there's a global pandemic and, we made the decision to stay. And I was like, it was kind of interesting to think through of like, okay, now I get to make the day what I want it. What do I want to do? I want to see my family. And for us, we were going to cook mac and cheese, like Siobhan, and do just different toppings because we're not big chefs. And but that was like comfort food to me. And then we ended up making a huge charcuterie board for one of my Zoom calls and got too full and just like didn't make dinner. And that was our Thanksgiving, and it was fine. Like, I had a great day, but it was just funny,
charcuterie for dinner. That's a real thing.
Oh yeah, it was a great cheese. I'm a sucker for a good cheese board and like olives and bread. I found rosemary bread at the market and I like warmed it, and like I was like, oh, it's literally 2020 has taught me it's also the little things of like just putting bread I bought at the store in the oven and then cutting it made me feel like I baked it. Like, I know everyone's been making sourdough, but I was like, guys, I have rosemary bread. I'm like, look at this.
Was it from the Essential Baking Company?
It was.
Oh, that's the best.
So good.
Oh, that is the best bread. The Rosemary Essential Baking. They did not sponsor this, but they wish they had.
Yeah.
Yes, look at this. I've been endorsed by Monica, our one who's our chef here in the group. I love it. Yes, I'd seen it a couple times, and now again, I'm convinced. I was like, compared to regular bread, rosemary bread, I just felt like it like upped my game a little bit. So yeah, but focusing on the why and kind of trying to drop some of the shoulds that I think sometimes get around the holidays of the things we should be doing. And should be enjoying. And if you don't like virtual, you don't have to do virtual. If you miss people, I think it's a great way to still connect and still get a little bit of that in-person feeling of being together and all of that. But
say hi to Rob. He just got home.
Hi, Rob. But yeah, and I will say I loved it because it gives me opportunity to get together with lovely ladies like you guys and just kind of swap ideas. And I know from this conversation, you guys have made me feel a lot more positive about the holidays. I think I go through ups and downs of getting really excited and then getting really bummed out because it looks different. But I did have somebody else tell me it's just 1 year. Of all the years we've all been alive, if you could, you probably look fondly back on like holidays as like a lump versus like, Laura, how many times do you remember exactly what happened over those 4 hours of Christmas present opening every year of the last couple of years, but you collectively remember it all, so it's 1 year. But I'm looking forward to all the amazing things we're all going to do in 2021.
Show us your sleeves before we end.
Oh, talking about surprise and delighting. I have stockings on the sleeve of my festive sweater that have little candy canes. If we were in person, I'd go around and gift those all to you. You each get a candy cane out of I have 3 stockings. There's exactly 3 candy canes for you.
Aww.
But yes, shout out to Grandmommy Clements for her actual sweater. This was one that was actually made when Christmas sweaters were not called tacky, but has lived on. So I've enjoyed it for that purpose. If anyone needs one. But anywho, anything else we missed for our kind of our holiday squares, play on the Hollywood Squares theme?
It's been great. Thank you all.
Yeah, I think that's it. All right, we'll give everyone a smile and a wave, everybody, and we'll sign off. Happy holidays and happy 2021.
Yeah.